Readers, reviewers, countrymen, lend us your ears. And a huge thank you to all of our Patreons.
Thank you to the Pit Fighters, the First Swords, and all of the Bright Stars, Truth and Courage.
Hello and welcome back to for the very first time to the channel. I am Will, and today I am going to be talking about 2024 releases I need to read. So many of these have not been released yet, and some of them have already been released, but I need to do my best and get around to them because there are so many books on the TBR pile, but I will try and make these the priority releases of 2024 I want to get to. I was scanning through a lot of different booktubers videos and then kind of looking at the publisher websites, and I had about 50 books that I want to read that are released this year. So that would be about half of my overall goal, and there's a lot of books I want to read that aren't released this year. So I've cut it down. These are the priority ones, the ones that hopefully, fingers crossed, I will end up getting around to. And so let's get right on with it and talk about the 2024 releases that I want to read, that I have not read yet. And kicking it off with Empire of the Damned, Book 2 of the Empire of the Vampire series by J. Christoph. Book 1, Empire of the Vampire, was released a few years ago, 2021 I believe, and I absolutely adored it. One of my favourite reads of all time. Gabriel de Leon, he's not someone for everyone, but to me it really clicked. He's one of my favourite fictional characters of all time. Absolutely incredible. J. Christoph just weaves a plot that just immersed me and engaged me and had everything that you can yearn for as a reader in the pages of his book. And I have heard incredible things about Empire of the Damned from the likes of Mike's Book Reviews, Matt's Fantasy Reviews, Spaced Out Wizard, and more. So I'm very excited to dive into Book 2. Before I go any further, I just want to say that I have a code William Gwyn for the bookshop Books Please, which great name by the way. So they've got very competitive prices for books, and this is a coupon for 5% off. So I think all of these books will be on there to pre-order or buy if they're already released. And yeah, this bookshop covers basically every single genre, so I'll have that linked in the description below. So if you want to go on some more book buying, here is an excuse to. But now on to Book 2, which is Dark Frontier by Matthew Harvey. Me and my brother Ed are very lucky to have an early arc to this western. Matthew Harvey is a very successful historical fiction author, one that I've absolutely loved his works. I think I've read 6 books by him now. He's most well known for Wolf of Wessex, and I highly recommend that people read him. He's great if you've run out of some Bernard Cornwell and you want something off of a similar vein and kind of that Anglo-Saxon vibe. Dive into some Matthew Harvey, but this is quite different. Matthew Harvey has said that one of his favourite genres is westerns, and I've seen that influence and inspiration in his historical fiction works. And yeah, I can really see how he's going to make a great transition into the western genre, and I'm very fascinated to see what this story is like. I wonder if there'll be some Anglo-Saxon inspiration in this as they can go to and fro. So yeah, I'll definitely see. But yeah, really looking forward to diving into Dark Frontier. Matthew Harvey has cemented himself as a great author who is just consistently delivers, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to diving into Dark Frontier. And by the way, if I keep looking down to my left, that is because I'm looking after a baby sheep at the moment. That's not something I thought I'd say in a video, but yeah, I'm looking after a baby sheep, so it's been adopted into House Gwyn for now anyway, as it is a bit weak. It was only born a few days ago, and so Mama Gwyn and Papa Gwyn have taken it in, and they're making sure that it's healthy, and they're bottle feeding it and bringing it up to strength. And so yeah, I'm looking after a baby lamb whilst recording this. So yeah, if I'm looking down, I'm not just being weird, it's looking at the baby lamb, which is very cute by the way, so I may just look there for most of the time. But anyway, on to the next book, and that is Stormcrow by Ben Kane. Some more historical fiction and some Norse historical fiction. This is set in Ireland. I forgot which century, but it's pre-11th century, I'm pretty certain. And we have a character who is on a pursuit of vengeance. They're in Ireland, and it just sounds absolutely awesome. It sounds like a Bildungsroman, a coming-of-age story as well. So it's got a great mix of kind of tropes and themes and plot points that I really love, all put into one. And I've read Ben Kane's what was the trilogy called? I think it was Road to Rome. maybe I got the wrong name for it, but it's a trilogy set in the ancient Roman Empire, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It was great, and yeah, so I trust Ben Kane now, and I'm looking forward to seeing what his work is like outside of that series. And so yeah, really looking forward to picking up Stormcrow, which I believe is released in May. And then next up, even more historical fiction, and this is Arthur by Giles Christian. So Giles Christian is one of my favourite authors. He has written, if I can get it out, it's stuck quite deeply in here. Dropping everything left, right and centre here. But Arthur is the third book in his Arthurian series, which begins with Lancelot, continues with Camelot, and after a few years break, he's returning with a third instalment called Arthur. And so, yeah, we can kind of guess on the characters that will be in the book, but so you can't say much because it'd be spoilers for how book 2 ends up, but I can see how there's definitely room for a lot more, and I'm looking forward to see how Giles Christian approaches this, and how, I wonder if there's been a big gap in time or if we carry on straight after Camelot. It'd be very interesting, but yeah, I definitely recommend his series. You could read Lancelot just as a standalone, and I absolutely loved Lancelot. I really enjoyed Camelot, but I think personally I preferred Lancelot, and it can be wrapped up just as a single story as well. So if you just want kind of a palate cleanser, something a bit different, some historical fiction, Giles Christian has poetic prose, brilliant characters, and this is a very emotional roller coaster of a ride. And so yeah, that is another new release that I'm looking forward to reading. And then next up, I have some fantasy, a lot of historical fiction in those last few books, and I have Dragon Rider. Now, I know basically nothing about this series other than it is a debut, and it has the word dragon in the title, and it has the word rider in the title. And that dragon and rider put together, well, what more can you ask for? I love myself some dragons, and I think I'm going to love this. It sounds really great. A lot of people are quite excited about it, and I'm lucky enough to have been given early access via NetGalley, so I'm looking forward to making the dive into Dragon Rider. And then next up, I have The Land of the Living and the Dead by Shauna Lawless. This is book 3 of her Gale Song series. I recently read Dreams of Fire, which is a novella that Shauna Lawless released that you can read without having read anything of Gale Song, or you can read it after having read book 1 or book 2. So any combination, really. And yeah, it was great. It's one of the best novellas I've ever read, because novellas sometimes, because you've got similar characters in there, it's to the detriment of the new characters, but Shauna Lawless just found a great balance, and I'm really looking forward to powering on with the series. I love The Children of Gods and Fighting Men before reading The Land of the Living and the Dead, which, by the way, what a title. I need to read book 2 first. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. This series just seems like the perfect blend of history and then mythology as well, Irish mythology to be specific, and I'm really fascinated to see where Shauna Lawless goes with this series. And then next up, I have Crucible of Chaos by Sebastian de Castell. So Sebastian de Castell has written the Grey Coat and the Spellslinger series, and this is a continuation. You can read this without having read the Grey Coat series, but it carries on in the same world. And Crucible of Chaos is a prequel standalone. So this is set before what his next release is going to be. I'll talk about them both together. I'm going to read this and Play of Shadows, which comes out in a month or so, and I cannot wait because I've read 10 books or 11 books by Sebastian de Castell and loved every single one of them. He is a brilliant, witty, humorous author who has standout characters, but also amongst all the humour and his quirky characters, he has an emotional core to it. He makes sure to keep the heart of the story, and I love that the bonds that he creates between the characters, even when they don't really want to admit it to themselves. That is kind of the bromance and the relationships between the characters is one of my favourite aspects of his works. And I cannot wait to read Crucible of Chaos and also Play of Shadows. So Play of Shadows kicks off his new series, and I believe this is a prequel to that. So yeah, really looking forward to reading it. Reading them both, really. And yeah, another author that I cannot just wait to dive more into, because just showing himself to be a very consistent author. Next up, I have some Greek mythology by the author Jennifer Saint, who is renowned for her books Ariadne and Electra, and she is going on next to Hera. So I do need to read her previous books, but I think I might make the dive with Hera as it's coming out in 2024. So of course, this is from the perspective of the Greek goddess Hera, who is often just seen as a vindictive, jealous wife to Zeus, and she doesn't really have, well, there are some stories which are to her own, but that seems to be the majority of her personality, or at least in the more famous kind of mythological tales from the Greek pantheon. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how Jennifer Saint has her spin on this. I've heard that she's very clever with how she works with the characters in her retellings of Greek myth, such as Arene and Electra. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing where that goes with Hera. And I think Elodie Harper read this recently and said that Jennifer Saint just manages to get better and better each time. And so that is high praise, especially from an author I trust, such as Elodie Harper. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading Hera, a new author and a standalone as well. So that's great. And yeah, I'll get a taste for what Jennifer Saint's writing is like. And then next up, I have The Warm Hands of Ghosts. So this is a more familiar author to me. This is by Catherine Arden. She is the author of the Winter Night trilogy that kicks off with The Bear and the Nightingale, which I absolutely love that trilogy. Read it quite a few years ago. It kickstarted my reading of historical fantasy, which I've come to absolutely love and adore. And there'll be some other books of historical fantasy I'll talk about later on. I've already talked about The Children of Gods and Fighting Men, because that is historical fantasy. And I think this is historical fantasy as well. So, well, there's a question of whether it is or not. This is set during World War I, and I've just started this on Audible and I'm really enjoying it. We've got 2 POVs and I don't really know what to say. It's going to spoil it, but there's a relationship with the dead, but there's the question of, is it made up? Is it reality or not? So yeah, there's a line which I imagine, I'm not sure if I'll get a conclusive answer by the end, but I'm really enjoying how Catherine Arden is weaving those kind of questions into the story at the moment. And so yeah, really looking forward to powering on with the Warm Hands of Ghosts. I've really enjoyed it so far. And Catherine Arden is an author who, especially her writing style, is really smooth and efficient, where I think she'd be very capable of kind of blowing my mind with her description, and she does at times, but she makes sure to rein it in so it's not overwhelming. She really uses it at those moments where it's needed, but she makes sure to prioritize a smooth, efficient, evolving story. And I love it when authors do that. And yeah, she really has amazing skills as an author. And then next up, I've already talked about Play of Shadows, so I have Henry V by Dan Jones, some non-fiction being chucked into this list. So non-fiction called Henry V, pretty self-explanatory. It is a biography about the King Henry V, infamous or famous, whichever way you like to look at it, as a king of England, and especially as the leader who won Agincourt, that battle that looked like the English were going to be destroyed against the French forces. And so, yeah, there's films been adapted, such as The King with Timothée Chalamet in it, that is a brilliant film. I imagine quite different to history, but yeah, really brilliant. I absolutely love that. I think Timothée Chalamet is brilliant to it in it, and everyone's talking about how amazing he is in Dune 2, which I agree with. He absolutely is brilliant. I can't speak today. I'm just forgetting to utter the last syllable of so many words. But yeah, he's really brilliant in Dune 2, but he's also been a fantastic author for years. So if you want to check out some more Timothée Chalamet, check out The King. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading some more Dan Jones. I love his fiction works. I love his non-fiction as well. And I'm looking forward to diving into Henry V. And then I have The Voyage Home by Pat Barker, the 3rd installment in her Silence of the Gales trilogy, quartet. I don't know how many it's going to end up being, but I cannot wait. The Silence of the Gales is one of the greatest books ever written, in my opinion. It is my favourite mythological retelling that I've read. It is a feminist retelling from the perspective of Briseis during the War of Troy. But you may have heard the little lamb bleat for a second there. But yeah, it is absolutely fantastic. Pat Barker is just an incredible author. And then the sequel as well is absolutely brilliant, and I cannot wait to carry on with The Voyage Home. It's been a few years since book 2, so I may need to do a reread. Any excuse for a reread of some of your favourite books, I'll take it. And yeah, so that would be the 3rd installment of the series, maybe the finale, I'm not sure. And yeah, it'd be interesting because it'll be going away from the story of Troy now and carrying on with these characters. So yeah, a lot more ambiguity of what is going to happen. And then last up, give me 1 second, I'm just going to pick the lamb up. Say hello to the baby lamb, who is so cute. And he has a jumper on so he can stay warm at the moment. Yeah, he is absolutely lovely. And so the last book I'll be talking about today is The Blood-Dimmed Tide, which is book 2 of The Nightingale and the Falcon. Book 1, The Judas Blossom, was one of my favourite reads from last year. You're right there. It was one of my favourite reads from last year. Some more historical fantasy. This is set just before kind of the peak of the Mongol Empire. And so we've got characters from the top of society, such as leaders of great armies of the Mongol Empire, empire. We've got those trying to topple it, and we've got those just trying to survive lower down in the echelons of society. And I loved how Stephen Ryan chose those perspectives that have such a different view on life and different desires and motivations and agendas as well, and different spheres of influence and responsibilities as well. It makes it really fascinating when an author picks a wide array of perspectives and manages to weave their story in with each other in ways that feel organic and natural. And Stephen Ryan did that brilliantly with A Judas Blossom. And I think a lot more of the magic, the fantastical side is going to come into play in book 2, and I'm fascinated to see what that will be like. But yeah, that is 14 books that I intend to read in 2024 that are released in 2024. I've already read a few, but these are ones that I intend to read from now on. So obviously the one I finish next will be The Warm Hands of Ghost by Catherine Arden, as I've already started that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting through all of these. And yeah, it just shows how much talent is in the world right now with authors that are still ongoing and writing and releasing projects. Many of these authors are ones that I already love and respect and trust. And so I cannot wait for the sequels or the next projects. And then some, I'll be trying some new authors, and hopefully I'll discover some new favourites. And yeah, I'll be talking about all these books, I imagine, throughout the year as I pick them up and read them, and fingers crossed, love them. But yeah, they're the books I'm most fascinated to read that are being released this year. Please do let me know which books you've read this year that have been released this year. That is a mouthful. Please let me know the books published this year that you've loved, or that you think you're going to love, or that you're really interested in picking up, because I may have missed a few. And yeah, there's nothing better than adding to the TBR pile, even though it may be huge and towering and intimidating. The more on there, the better, because the beauty of books is that there are so many that we may not be able to read them all, but there'll always be too many to love. And so, yeah, we're never going to run out of books to love. So, yeah, that's a good thing. Better too many than too few. So, yeah, please do let me know in the comments below what books published this year you'll be looking forward to. And as always, thank you for watching. Truth and Courage.